Hey, Liam. I've been trying to learn new English words, but sometimes it's hard to remember them or use them correctly.
Hey Emma, expanding your vocabulary can feel tricky at first, but there are some great strategies to make it easier and more effective. Want to go through a few?
Yes, please. I'd love to know the best ways to learn and actually remember new words.
First, let's make sure we're clear on what we mean by vocabulary. Do you know what vocabulary is?
Yes, vocabulary is all the words you know in a language, right?
Exactly. And when you're expanding your vocabulary, it's helpful to learn words in context.
What does context mean?
Good question. Context is the situation or sentence around a word that gives it meaning. So instead of just learning a word alone, you learn it in a sentence or conversation to understand how it's used.
Oh, that makes sense, like seeing a word in action. So, should I try to use new words and sentences right away?
Yes, that's one of the best ways to make a word stick. When you use a word in a sentence, you start to remember it better, especially if you say the sentence out loud.
Got it. So I could say something like, I feel motivated to learn new vocabulary. Is that a good way to use the word motivated?
Perfect example. And if you use it a few times in different sentences, you'll remember it even more.
What if I want to remember specific types of words? Sometimes I feel overwhelmed by so many words out there.
That's totally understandable. A great tip is to learn words in categories. Categories are groups of related words. For example, you could learn words about food, travel, or business.
Oh, that sounds helpful. So, instead of learning random words, I focus on one category at a time.
Exactly. That way you can remember similar words together and use them in related situations.
I've heard of flashcards. Are they really useful?
Absolutely. Flashcards help you review words and their meanings. You can use physical flashcards or apps and try spaced repetition, which means reviewing the words at specific intervals.
Spaced repetition? How does that work?
It's a method where you review a word several times over a few days or weeks. The more often you review it, the better you remember it over time.
Okay, so instead of cramming, I review words gradually?
Exactly. It helps keep words in your long-term memory.
What if I already know some words but want to sound more fluent? Are there ways to expand my vocabulary with words I kind of know?
Good question. One way is to learn synonyms and antonyms, words that mean the same or the opposite.
Oh, so if I know the word happy, I could learn joyful as a synonym and sad as an antonym.
Exactly. It adds variety to your language, which makes you sound more fluent and expressive.
Do you think it helps to write down new words somewhere?
Definitely. Keeping a vocabulary journal is a great habit. You can write down new words, their definitions, and an example sentence.
That's a good idea. I guess writing things down helps me remember.
Yes, and you can review your journal whenever you need to refresh your memory.
Once I learn a word, how can I make sure I don't forget it?
Try to use it in real-life conversations as soon as possible. When you actually say the word to someone, it reinforces it in your mind.
Got it. So if I learned the word enthusiastic, I could say, I'm enthusiastic about learning English in a conversation.
Perfect. The more you use it, the more natural it will feel.
I've tried to learn single words, but sometimes it feels like they don't connect in my mind.
That's why learning words and sentences is so helpful. Let's say you want to remember the word enthusiastic. Instead of just memorizing enthusiastic means eager, try to create a sentence you might actually use, like I'm enthusiastic about learning English.
Right. That way, I'm learning how the word sounds naturally in a sentence.
Exactly. You're also creating a real connection with the word, so next time you feel excited about something, you'll remember to say, I'm enthusiastic about it.
I'll definitely start making sentences. It makes the words feel more real, like I could actually use them in real life. Sometimes I know a basic word, but I feel like I'm using the same words over and over. Any tips to sound more fluent?
Definitely. You can expand your vocabulary by learning synonyms and antonyms. A synonym is a word with a similar meaning, and an antonym has the opposite meaning.
So if I know happy, I could learn joyful as a synonym and sad as an antonym.
Yes, exactly. Knowing synonyms makes your language richer, and antonyms help you understand more shades of meaning.
That makes sense. Instead of always saying happy, I could say joyful or even thrilled. It gives me more ways to express myself.
Exactly, Emma. That variety really adds to your fluency.
I think writing things down helps me remember. Would a vocabulary journal be useful?
Yes, a vocabulary journal is an excellent idea. In your journal, write down each word, its definition, an example sentence, and even related synonyms and antonyms.
Okay, so it's like a personal dictionary with extra notes?
Exactly. Plus, it gives you a place to track your progress and you can review it anytime.
Once I learn a word, what's the best way to make sure I actually remember it?
Use it in a real conversation as soon as possible. For example, if you learn the word delicious, try to use it next time you talk about food.
Ah, that's a fun idea. So if I just learned the word interesting, I could say, that movie was interesting when talking to someone about a film.
Perfect. The more you use new words, the more naturally they'll come to you.
Sometimes I feel like I'm not making progress because there's always more to learn.
I know the feeling, but it's really important to celebrate small wins. If you learn just 5 new words and use them correctly, that's progress.
Oh, so even small achievements can make a difference.
Absolutely. Every step forward builds your skills, so celebrate those little victories to stay motivated.
I like technology. Are there any apps or games that help with vocabulary?
Yes, many apps like Duolingo or Memrise use spaced repetition, and there are word games like Scrabble and crosswords that build vocabulary in a fun way.
I love games. So I could learn while I play?
Exactly. It's a fun way to reinforce what you've learned, and it keeps your learning enjoyable. So, to recap, learn words in context, use categories, try spaced repetition, find synonyms and antonyms, keep a journal, and practice in conversations. Also, remember to celebrate your progress.
Thank you, Liam. This gives me a much clearer path to building my vocabulary in a way that actually works.
I'm glad to hear that, Emma. Just remember that building vocabulary is a journey, and each word you learn is another step forward.